Before we get going on today's program, just a little PSA because I know this is the slowest time of the NFL season. A lot of people, they're on summer break, they're checking out. But if you clicked on this video and you're not subscribed, please help me out because May, 512 subs, June, 498 subs. I know it's going down, but in July, we've only had 92 subscribers so far. Hey, we bring you free Texans content all year round. So if you're new to the channel, hey, watch the whole video and let me know. If you like it, go ahead and go down and hit that subscribe button. Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I am your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and on today's program, do the Texans have the worst offensive line in the entire National Football League? Well, one publication thinks so. So we're going to break that down on today's show. I'm going to tell you why they are ranked 32nd, how PFF got it wrong, because in their explanation, they definitely got something wrong. And then at the very end of today's show, I'm going to tell you why I'm optimistic and why you should be optimistic around this Texans offensive line unit going into this season. But before we get going, be brutally honest with me and let me know. Do the Texans have the worst O-line heading into 2025? Give me a yes, give me a no down in the comments section. It's all good. You can be honest here. This is a safe space. And I would, tend to agree with some people saying, I'm not very confident in the Texans offensive line going into this year. I get it. But let me know down below. Give me your reasoning why or why not you think the Texans have the worst offensive line going into this season. Because I get the ranking. I get the ranking by PFF in that the O-line was really, really bad last year, allowing the second most sacks in the entire National Football League. And there's a ton of unknowns with this unit. And as we look at the worst offensive lines, according to PFF, they have the Texans ranked 32nd, right behind the Cincinnati Bengals, Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots, and the New York Football Giants. And as I look at this Texans offensive line depth chart, I get it. If you're not a Texans fan, if you're not following this team closely, you probably look at this unit and you go, eesh, this is not some very inspiring names that are starting for this Texans unit up front. No household names on this Texans offensive line. And, it's understandable that you're like, okay, this unit's going to be bad going into this year. Because, as I mentioned, there are some major question marks around this unit. Who will play right tackle? I had the rookie Ariante Ursery slotted in there, but it could easily be second-year man Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame. Who will play center? Will it be Jake Andrews, who I have slotted in there? He got a lot of starting reps during minicamp and OTAs. Or will it be Jarrett Patterson or Juice Scruggs? And will new offensive line coach Cole Popovich get this unit to play a better and, more importantly, a more cohesive game? Because with the offensive line, you can have really good guys, at the left tackle spot, maybe the right tackle spot, but more than any other position in the National Football League, the offensive line needs to play as a unit. They need to play together. If you have one guy who's really good and four scrubs, your offensive line's not going to be good. It doesn't matter if you have one really good guy. You have to have five guys that are working in tandem, working in unison, that, simpatico, all the guys working together at the same time for the same goal, or else it's going to be a bad unit. And can new O-line coach Cole Popovich succeed, Cole Strausser, and be better than him because he was an assistant last year? Will he get this unit to play much better for C.J. Stroud going into this next season? Now, next up, I'm going to tell you where PFF got it wrong because I get why the Texans are so low ranked for PFF. It's understandable, but their reasoning doesn't really make any sense for me. This is what they had to say. The presence of veterans Laremy Tunsil and Shaq Mason prevented an already shaky Texans offensive line from being even worse in 2024, and the team cut ties with both this offseason. Now, there's little to suggest that the group isn't deserving of the number 32 ranking ahead of the 2025 season. Shaq Mason? You're telling me Shaq Mason's the reason why this unit's not higher ranked? The guy who had 8 sacks allowed last year and easily the worst year of his professional career. That's Shaq Mason. That's who we're saying is going to, that's what would have helped this Texans offensive line. I'm not buying it. And I know Laremy Tunsil, he is an amazing pass blocker. Look at that grade by PFF, an 88.6. Look at the bottom. 19 penalties in 2024. You're telling me that's what really held the Texans up last year? I would rather argue that those two guys brought the Texans offensive line down last year. And arguably the best thing the Texans did this entire offseason was moving on from Shaq Mason, letting him walk in free agency, and trading Kenyon Green to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I know I'm still kind of torn on the whole Tunsil thing because he is a fantastic pass blocker, but he had easily one of the worst years of his entire professional career last year with the Texans. And as I mentioned, the Texans O-line, any O-line in the NFL, it's a unit. All 5 guys need to work together. So if they didn't think Laremy Tunsil was going to work well with the other 4 guys along the front, it makes sense that they wanted to move on from him, even though he had some amazing pass blocking talent. Now, at the tackle options for the Houston Texans right now, as we stand, Cam Robinson, who has 9 seasons played in the NFL. You have Ariante Ursary, who's a rookie, that second-round pick from Minnesota this past year. Blake Fisher has 1 year under his belt, the second-round pick last year from Notre Dame. And then Titus Howard is going into year 7. He has 6 years where he's played all along the offensive line. I think the fact that the Texans have a lot of young guys, a lot of, guys who I think maybe unproven, but I do think they could take a really big step up. And that kind of leads me into my next point. Coming up, I'm going to tell you why we should be optimistic for this offensive line, because there's a lot of negatives. You can say a lot of bad stuff around this offensive line for sure. But I'm going to tell you why maybe they're not top 10, but why they might be a, average, somewhere around 10 to 15 unit going into next season. Before I do, I've had a lot of success with the hoodie sales this past week. Y'all have been very receptive, but I have gotten some comments saying, Jeremy, it's summertime. Please, can you find me something that I can wear right now? I got you. This Texans Performance t-shirt is 25% off right now. All you got to do, go to chatsports.com/HOU Nike sale. This performative Nike Texan shirt is 25% off right now. So you don't want to get the hoodie and stash it for later. Get this performance polo. This is something that I would actually wear to the gym, going out to play hoops. Do whatever you need outside. This is going to have that, moisture wicking technology that they have over at Nike. So go check it out right now. Once again, chatsports.com/HOU Nike sale. If you're looking for a Texans Performance polo, something you can wear in the summer, maybe something you can wear to the beach, I got you covered right here. That link will be in the comment section and description of today's video. 3 reasons why you should be optimistic for this offensive line. New coaching staff. Not only we mentioned Cole Popovich, the new Texans offensive line coach, we also have a new scheme coming in with new OC Nick Caley coming over from the Los Angeles Rams. And sometimes, a change of scheme, a change of ideology along the offensive line can really make a profound impact. And I think with guys like Titus Howard, who I still am high on, I think he could be a good offensive lineman. And some of the young guys coming up, maybe a change of scheme, somebody with, Nick Caley's experience working with Dante Scarnecchia with the New England Patriots, highly regarded as one of the best offensive line coaches to ever coach in the NFL. Also, coaching under Sean McVay, where he's an offensive guru. He knows how to use the offensive line, even if you don't have the best talent, but getting the most out of those guys. I'm really looking forward to see what Nick Caley and this new offensive scheme can do with this offensive line that we have right now. Young guys stepping up. I mentioned the tackles already in Blake Fisher, Ariante Ursary, those young guys. But along the entire offensive line, there's young guys that can definitely step up. I mentioned Jake Andrews, the center. Jarrett Patterson and Juice Scruggs, can those guys maybe have a little bit of a resurgence? Because this Texans offensive line, there's some older guys. Obviously, they signed Laken Tomlinson. They got Cam Robinson this offseason as well. Titus Howard, as I mentioned, going into year 7. But besides that, there's a lot of unproven guys that can really step up for this Texans offensive line. And if you have 1 or 2 of those guys kind of pop this year, really stand out and step up, this unit goes from a 32 unit to, as I mentioned, maybe a average unit, a 10 to 15 range offensive line. So if these young guys can really step up and play well under Cole Popovich and Nick Caley, I think the tune around this offensive line is going to change midseason. Why I'm optimistic, I think you're going to get a better C.J. Stroud last year. One of the biggest gripes, one of the biggest complaints with old OC Bobby Slowick was the fact that CJ Stroud actually wasn't allowed to make calls at the line of scrimmage, wasn't allowed to use hot routes, wasn't allowed to slide protections at the line. Stroud's already said Caley's kind of given him the keys to the car, letting him make changes, letting him see the defense, read the defense a little bit more. And plus, Stroud's in a contract year. I believe we will see the best version of CJ Stroud that we've ever seen for the Houston Texans. I talked to Cecil Shorts, who's with the Houston Texans. He MCs there, obviously a former player as well. And he said Stroud is locked in more than ever. He's never seen Stroud like he's seen him this offseason. And he kind of alluded to guys like a J.J. Watt, like some of these Texans legends, like Andre Johnson, who you see them in the offseason, they lock in and they're ready to go. And he said Stroud is basically doing that this offseason. You remember last year whenever he was doing that world tour with Micah Parsons? Yeah, that's not happening this year for CJ Stroud. So I believe all these factors are going to lead to the Texans offensive line improving in 2025, 2026. And honestly, they're already ranked 32. The only place to go from here is up. So glass half full kind of guy, you can see it as we're already the worst ranked unit going into the year. The only place to go is up. Now, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you want to hit me up on social media, you can do so. Continue the conversation. You can follow me on X at Jeremy Chuggs, TikTok at Jeremy Chuggs as well, and on IG, I'm at Texans Today CS. My DMs are always open.